Hello, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of the Architect and the Operative podcast. My name is Selim Maalouf, and with you is James Bond.
Hey, what's happening? Hey, did you know, Selim, that if I took my hat off, my hair would look just like yours?
I bet it would. For anyone who's now listening on Spotify with no video on, because I finally got my shit together and got us on Spotify. So if you like your podcast audio only, make sure to check us out on Spotify. And if you like consuming little shorts from our podcast, make sure to check our shorts section on YouTube. Well, did you know, James, that for those who are listening from last episode, I did fix our numbering issue. Today is episode 3, and it's called E03.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's super exciting.
Yeah, it is. I have learned my lesson. I will never do that again. A pilot is 0, and we start with 1. Anyway.
No one cares but me. That's okay.
No, believe me, a lot of people care. In fact, I've had a couple of conversations about people who, let's just say, reached out to you and reminisced on some anecdotes, some people,
Yes.
from the podcast. And I love hearing those stories. And honestly, on my side, I'm looking at analytics. Things are picking up. Now it's less of a we're talking to each other and hoping someone listens to. Now I feel confident to saying like, hey, hello there. I'm talking to you directly. So
Nice.
It's
nice. I love it.
Yeah. Crazy times, huh? While we're recording this, it's we just finished end of quarter. And to all of the salespeople out there, hope you guys survived the end of quarter crunch. But I know, James, you've been in a lot of organizations. You've been a contributor in a lot of them, and you've been a leader in a lot of them. And I haven't been in your shoes, and I'm always interested in understanding what happens end of quarter, because all I see is sales reps running around trying to close their quarter, and it always feels like a last minute crunch. And us who try to fix process through tech, I always feel like there must be something we could fix. So I would love for you to shine some light on this and teach me, the marketer who's never worked in sales.
So, okay. There's a lot of pieces to what happens at end of quarter. And then there's also public company versus private company. So public companies, it's a shame. I talk about this all the time. It gets upsetting how important stock price is to the CEO, for example, and to the leadership team, because everything's tied to that. Because their role is to deliver value to the shareholder. I understand that. I get that. But when it becomes a priority, you tend to lose focus. And what happens is that, things are reported quarterly if you're a public company. And so, HubSpot in particular, I love them, love the sales reps we work with. But they have a push. It's the end of quarter. We're going to have to tell the street how we did. And that last $2,000 is a big deal when you multiply that times 600 salespeople or 700 salespeople. So in their world, that's an important piece. From a sales perspective, it's really a couple of things. One, it's a reason to create urgency. Urgency is like the biggest unspoken about challenge of a salesperson. Like, how do I get this person to make this decision right this very second instead of tomorrow, next week, next month? Imagine you're the buyer. In reality, not a bit of difference. If I start today versus tomorrow, typically not a bit of difference. Now, we happen to have one on our team that was like severe deadline to the point where I literally had to say, if we do not do this today, you will be a Salesforce customer for an entire year after that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like today, like we need to get started like tonight on our side, right? So that stuff happens and that's real. But typically a salesperson is like, how do I create urgency? Which a separate topic is basically means I haven't given the customer enough value for them to be inspired and propelled into action to buy the product. Therefore, I need another reason for urgency. And so people look for urgency. Public company, end of quarter. One, it gets leadership what they need. Two, it gets the salesperson a reason to create urgency. And in that urgency, there's really only one lever you can pull. When you're urgent, it's going to be price.
Yeah.
It's going to be price. In our world, that doesn't work because, we're a time and materials implementation company. So, we don't get discounts from the team. Like the employees don't give discounts. So if they work 100 hours versus 50 hours, we don't get a discount from our supplier of the time, which is the employee. So how are we supposed to provide a discount to the customer? So we just don't do it, right? And we have that conversation, and customers get that. But they've got the quarterly push from HubSpot, which is a public company, and they'll just tell the customer, "Hey, we're a public company. We need a big quarter. This makes a difference. I'm basically willing to just eat some revenue for you to do it today." Now,
does that create incentive for buyers to, string along sales reps until getting close to end of quarter to fish for that discount?
Comes up all the time. It comes up all the time. The buyer will like, well, I know at the end of the quarter is when you are gonna whatever. Like if they are a seasoned buyer, they know that's when the lever can be pulled. And so that comes up all the time. The salesperson with the right skill set can overcome that. But yeah, that comes up all the time. The opposite of urgency is time kills deals. So yeah, you have a reason to create urgency now. You're going to give up some money to create that urgency, which also hits the rep, their commission. They take less, they make less also, right? But every day a deal doesn't get closed, the deal's at risk. And the longer the deal doesn't get closed, the higher the risk. And so, man, I'd rather take $9 out of $10 today as opposed to risking $10 tomorrow. I mean, at the end of the day, if your business model can handle that and your profit margins can handle that, those are all things that have to be weighed and have to happen. Now, okay, talking a lot about sales philosophy. What's that have to do with the CRM or HubSpot? The tool can be configured and created so that whatever you need to do or prioritize is prioritized. And so when you have an end of quarter push, and I just had one, right? I just went through it,
yeah.
Right?
This is kind of why we're talking about it.
Yeah. So not as much like, yeah, time kills deals, but if they already bought HubSpot and we are in the deal, we're 98% going to get that deal. So not a huge difference in our world today versus tomorrow, right? Not a huge deal. It's still at risk, right? But we're a sales organization. It's okay to have goals. It's okay to have targets and strive to hit them. So we're doing that. But the real urgency on our side now becomes capacity. So we get this push from the HubSpot team, and then now we're at jammed. And what does everybody want to do?
Shorten timelines.
Yeah, what does everybody want to do on the 31st, 30th, and the end of the quarter, or worse, April 1, which happened to me, today's the 2nd, but happened to me. I had this conversation with a customer, and I said, look, right now we can get you the 14th. Like, if we're slammed. But if it doesn't happen today, we're going into capacity planning. You're not going to be on the list. That means it pushes us a week till the next capacity plan. It's going to be the week of the 21st, very likely. What did they say today to HubSpot? Well, I only want to sign if I can get started immediately. I'm like, I'm sorry. I can't. We already planned out everybody who said they would sign and actually signed. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you, buddy.
As an outsider,
I got off track, I think.
No, it's okay. As an outsider looking in, I've watched both, remote sales teams in the tech space. I've watched in-person, in-office sales teams. Everybody is yelling at each other. Everybody's passing around notes. People are screaming, "Where's my notes? I can't find my notes." In the tech space, either use Slack or Teams. Messages are going back and forth. People are tagging like entire channels in panic, saying like, "Hey, I need more information about this product because I'm trying to close a deal." Like all of it just comes down to, it feels like we are never, not we, but sales teams are never prepared for end of quarter, and those happen 4 times a year. So you would think there would be some preparation, not just process-wise, but using your tech stack to mitigate that crunch. So I'm wondering, as someone who's been through it personally, like how can you prepare beforehand? What things do you need prepared to not have to hit that crunch? And how should the CRM itself try to help you during that crunch?
Yeah. Like anything, the more prepared you are in general, the easier it is to prepare for that event. So if your CRM is like your desk and it's a shit show, it's going to be a shit show when you're pressed. So step 1 is get to a point where you've got a level of organization that is fitting. It's different for everybody. Like, my desk is a mess. My CRM is not perfect, but I keep it where I need it to be. Right? I can't keep it at perfection because I'll put a fork in my eye if everything had to be perfect every day, and I couldn't sign off until this checklist was done and all these are handled. Then I would just put a fork in my eye and be done. I would just do something else. I can't do it. Sorry, it's not happening. But there is a level. There's got to be that level for me. Now it's different for someone else. Another salesperson can be very buttoned up and needs to have everything checked off, or they can't sleep at night and they can't start their next day. No problem. That's fine. But it needs to be wherever you are. If you can get there, is my point. If you can get to that level, then you have some proactive planning to do for when you're going to be pressed. End of quarter would be an example of when you're going to be pressed. How do I prioritize deals? What are my notifications going to be? When am I notified that, in particular, somebody that is on my queue end of quarter target list is on the website? Open my email, right? Like, what's happening from a priority perspective that relates to the deals that are in a quarter? Like, then I'm not spending time on, Fred, who I've been talking to for a year and won't get on a call.
Yeah. Not every team has access to a sales operations specialist or, RevOps admin or just a CRM admin. Do you feel like that plays a big part in getting people ready? Do you feel like someone who's not super familiar with your actual pipeline can help you prepare for end of quarter, or is it just sometimes it's just a lost cause if you're not doing the prep yourself?
I mean, it's probably best case, because otherwise, you really have to be proactive and take time out to get it prepared yourself. But it goes back to, where are you starting from? Because if you're in a decent place that works for you, then that alone helps you prioritize. Like, we don't have this in place. We don't have an end of quarter CRM prep package in place. We should, now that I'm talking about it out loud, but we don't, right? But the way I use the system allows me to quickly prioritize on what I need to work on because it's there. It's right there.
Yeah.
Right.
Let me pull on that more. If you had a magic wand and right now somebody could set up a end of quarter crunch dashboard for you, what would it have on it? And we're assuming it's filtered for you and just you.
Wow.
Magic wand.
Okay, magic wand. First, deal related, the priority deals based on length of time that hit the stage before closed one, so that I know if it's 4 months ago, that probably won't hit that threshold of I need to be on top of this right now. If it hit the stage before closed one, right, let's say agreement sent, for example, or something, proposal sent, if it hits that, within a week or two right before end of quarter, like that needs to be followed up on every day. Where is that, right? So that's deal priority. Number 2 is contact behavior. Like what the contacts related to those deals, what are they doing? I need a way to see quickly, like which contacts are opening emails, clicking on things in the email, on our website, opening the proposal, etc. Like I need that in a priority list of some kind, because that's like every day I need to be on that. What I do now is normal, which is I look through all the notifications so that I know who's doing what, but it's global. It's my global universe that I'm trying to sell to. It's not like from a, hey, I need to know because I had 2 deals that I was trying to close end of quarter. Let's get it done. One of them was pretty big, and we should talk about this separate because it's interesting, but I don't want to talk about it here. But strategically, I made an error.
Yeah.
And that error is not going to cost me the sale, but it cost me in the quarter. It did not make it end of quarter, right? Which, by the way, means I'm not getting paid on it.
Correct.
This month. I'm going to get paid on it, next month or the month after, or whatever that ends up looking like, right? So had I had a better plan in place to watch exactly what that particular customer was, there was 3 of them in the deal, in the decision. If I was watching the 3 of them, I would have known my strategy was not working. But I'm in the middle of everything else. But if I could see that on a dashboard and know, man, they haven't been there in 24 hours. This is a $35,000 deal, and there's no activity. Now, I watched PandaDoc. I knew they didn't open their proposal, but I just didn't have a good picture to shine a spotlight and say, dude, you need to get in touch. Your strategy is not working. So anyway, those are the 2. Honestly, with those 2 things, it's huge. Past that, it's about the right notifications going to the right place so that I will get, I'll pay attention to it. Not just in the HubSpot browser, but I mean not in the Chrome browser, but I mean, like, hey, text message, Slack message, FYI, this contact has been in that same email that's got the proposal in it. It's been open 9 times since this morning, is something that I want to know proactively and be told about for end of quarter. But also, I need to know it hasn't happened. This one thing to find out, and those are low-hanging fruit for us, right? Set up, hey, behavior activity. They clicked on the website in this cool sales team. Now you know when they're there. But in this case, I needed to know they weren't there, right? Huge difference if I would have had that strategy in play. I would already have been, they'd have been in that capacity planning meeting.
Yeah, that last one you mentioned feels one of the least automatable things in your requests, because it sounds like it's part of your forecasting. So if you've done your forecasting correctly, every deal that's expected to close end of quarter would show up in a report and would show activity levels that are over a specific threshold. That's how you would get your notification that nothing is happening. But otherwise, no system is going to be able to detect that you wanted to look at that specific deal to know that nothing happened on it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
Well, I want that.
yeah. I'll throw it back at you.
Okay.
3 people: the sales rep, the sales leader, and the revenue operations specialist. What are some quick advice to prepare for end of quarter?
One, so here's sales leadership. Be honest with yourself about where your team's portal is. What's the status of your current, what are you providing them? Be honest with yourself about what level are you at. 2, have an understanding of what level they're at. You don't have to dig deep, but you need to have an understanding of where are they at, right? That's number 1 and number 2 advice for the sales leader. Salesperson, it's the same exact advice minus company. Know where you're at, be honest with yourself, and get real clear. You don't have to back up and spend 5 hours writing a plan of action for end of quarter, but at a minimum, it's coming. Prepare your space so that you can operate quickly and efficiently in the to the best of your ability, knowing it's coming. Because I think what happens sometimes is we think, oh, I need a plan for end of quarter. That's going to take some time, and I have a blank slate, and I need to create this plan. I mean, just at a minimum, be aware it's coming and organize your space, right? Let me give you a small example on that point right there. To your forecasting point, I suck at it. I like a huge opportunity for improvement on my side. Maybe it's because I'm an optimist. I don't know what it is, but sometimes I don't want to push the deal. A couple things, though. Here's the thing. Sometimes I don't want to push it because it feels like I'm giving up on the deal. It's just a mental thing for me. But the other thing is, part of my end of quarter plan is to look at sorted views by the forecast. What's going to close? What's supposed to close? If I push it out, it's like now it may have had a chance. It now has 0 chance because now it is literally off my visibility completely. I'm going to need, I don't know if there's a CRM therapist. Maybe you are my CRM therapist, but I need to work through that mentally because it's jacking up my forecasting.
Hey, everyone listening, let us know if you want a special episode with me being a CRM therapist for James.
Oh my God, I have to be vulnerable and shit. For the RevOps is don't underestimate the small things you can do that make a big impact for the sales team. Just don't underestimate it. It might be small in your world, and it might be a little tedious or might not be your big overall. Create a renewal process. May not be that big. Those small things, man, they can make a huge impact and a huge difference. So don't underestimate the power those can have.
Yeah. It's interesting to talk about impact small. Have you been watching product updates, or do you typically rely on someone like me to tell you what's new in the land of HubSpot?
I don't rely on somebody like you. I rely on you. No,
Fair enough.
We get them, but no, I don't pay attention to the level I should, of course.
Yeah. So a lot of people were joking about a new product update that had an impact level of low, and everybody's saying, no, this is seismic. This is world changing. that disconnect was funny to me, because HubSpot is talking about the impact on the technical CRM and not necessarily on the usability and people's comfort with the CRM. And I'm talking specifically about a new private beta that everybody's super excited about, and I seem to be the only curmudgeon here who thinks it's
Shocking.
a mistake. So if anyone has worked with HubSpot and other CRMs, HubSpot has a specific nomenclature for a lot of their data tables. If you've worked in a software like Salesforce, you know that it's a contact, an account, an opportunity, but HubSpot calls them contact, company, deal. A lot of people felt, oh, this is kind of like, I want my CRM to be more understandable. This company thing, I don't get it. What's an account? And people do a lot of mental gymnastics to remember that, okay, an account is a company, and an opportunity is a deal, etc. So now HubSpot is offering the ability to rename, and let me be super technical about it. HubSpot is offering the opportunity to change the label on the object, which means the technical name, the under the hood, is still the same, but the label you see in the CRM can be changed. So now you can change a company into an account. Or if you sell to schools, you can change a company to a school. Or if you sell to hospitals, you can change a company to hospitals. So on and so forth. Everything now is fair game. You can change literally everything. You can turn a contact into a patient. You can turn a contact into, a teacher, a student, an attendee, whatever it is. And that means everybody gets to create their own nice, custom, tailored instance of HubSpot. Why am I a curmudgeon about this? This should be good. Everybody gets to, get a, fit-to-purpose CRM designed just for them. Ask me, James, why am I curmudgeon about this?
I know why, but I want you to tell everybody else why, because I know you. One, for sport. You're partly doing it for sport.
Out of spite, right? I want people to suffer.
Yeah. And I feel like I'm getting the sense out of what you just said that I tend to get on that HubSpot bandwagon a little quick, because at first I was in that little group of raising the hands going, this is awesome. But just you talking about it, I'm going, oh boy. Okay.
Yep.
So please share.
Three things: custom integrations, documentation, and training. Are three things that are going to be super tough if this catches on, and people are not really seeing that. It's most likely because a lot of the people who are excited and are posting about it on LinkedIn are the kind of people who are too small to understand how big of a risk it is. Small and medium businesses have an instance of potentially, 15 users. They have a small data model. They have a small number of records. They have maybe one or two off-the-shelf integrations. All's good, right? But think of the companies who have multiple custom integrations, who are trying to keep those in line, trying to talk to their solution architects, discussing what custom solution they want. Now you have a language barrier, because we've all agreed that a company is a company, a deal is a deal, a ticket is a ticket. Now we're saying things like, oh, I want my opportunities synced. And someone says, what do you mean opportunities? They're like, oh, this thing. And then we have to do reverse demos, and solution architects like, oh, right, you're talking about what used to be companies. So under the hood, that's the object type 02-01. Now the headaches are starting. Second of all, documentation. The HubSpot knowledge base is full of articles talking about deals, talking about contacts, talking about companies, talking about tickets. Now, now that you call your companies schools and you're looking for help, oh, this is only articles about companies. Nobody's talking about what schools are. And if you're not in tune that your admin changed companies to schools, and now you're looking up some information on the HubSpot knowledge base, now you don't know that you should be looking for a company, a knowledge base article. And for training, if you've ever been the type to create a lot of trainings, like if you're a partner and doing a lot of trainings and reusing maybe 80% of your training material, because of course the basic off the shelf out of the box HubSpot doesn't change, so you don't really have to change a lot about your trainings. All you have to change is the section about how the configuration was set up. Now you're having to look at what name changes have been established and change your entire documentation. So, in the name of usability, I'm judging out of I'm supposing that it's not a big number of users that are clamoring for this change, but it's having big ripples, and it's gonna make usability of the system lower, not higher. But I'm interested in hearing your thoughts about this, because for me, it's educated guessing. A lot of people feel like, no, this will make it more usable. But I feel people who handle more complex CRM instances are going to be either putting their foot down and saying, no, we will not use it, or having to deal with nightmares on a daily basis.
Yeah, it's a bigger deal than I thought. There's another risk to the training piece, and that's turnover. And so, like, most of the small companies that are using software, they're really being built by one person or two people, like a small team. Even when we do larger teams, we're still working with two or three people and designing the whole thing. And so that in and of itself is a risk, because if you're doing what I preach, which is approaching it with the right mindset, and you're thinking through the process, that's not a big risk to use a small team to create your CRM, but most don't. And so if you have a team of 4 or 5, you've got one person typically that they're the go-to. They've built it out, and they did it with their own biases, this is what I want in a CRM. Now you add the ability to change object names. They're going to change it to what they want. And if they win the lottery, I used to say if they get hit by a bus, but win the lottery is so much more positive.
Yeah.
If they win the lottery.
Yeah, I used to do the same, and I was told, like, no, a better way to say it is if they win the lottery. I used to say if someone quits, they're like, no, that's too negative.
Yeah. If they no longer work at the company for whatever reason, you got to deal with what they've built. And if they've gone happy and they've made their own changes 2 positions down the road, it can be a mess. And it's like, why did they do that? And you won't have an answer. We deal with the same thing when we deal with homegrown systems that are built inside companies. Like, who built it? Are they alive? Is there a human we could have a conversation with to find out why they did this one thing? Because we can't figure out why. So same thing, right? And that can create confusion. That's a risk. On the positive side, I get excited because 2 things. Salespeople don't like barriers. And being stuck with the name of an object that doesn't match what you do for a living is a barrier. We don't like barriers.
Yeah.
And so anytime to get rid of a barrier, it's a win. We're like, sweet, beautiful. You're a nonprofit? No problem. That's a donor? No problem. Makes total sense, right? We don't sell. We collect sponsorships. Okay, great. Sponsorships, not deals. I mean, that's like music to our ears, and that's why it's real easy to get up and get excited about.
Yeah. And a lot of people are excited about it. And
Yeah.
they're framing it around usability of an off-the-shelf, out-of-the-box, instance of HubSpot. Where what I feel like needs to be said is if you're choosing to do that, you are willingly choosing to sign yourself up for a future filled with recreating documentation that already existed in the HubSpot knowledge base just to match your customization, or else your future users will be lost and will not have documentation to save them.
Yeah.
The HubSpot knowledge base is amazing. It has a lot of information. Choosing to change one name and just relinquishing all of that and pushing that responsibility onto your organization sometimes feels like there needs to be a higher discussion. It's not just a name change. It's more of a, do we have the resources to keep our own internal documentation, up to date? And tools like Supered are super happy about this because that means someone's gonna need some tooltips and documentation inside the UI, which Supered has been amazing at. But
yeah. Well, the other thing, let me tell you about the other thing I like, and then I want to comment on what you just said. The other thing I like about it is how important I feel culture is in an organization. You have one no matter what, right? But building the culture you want is important. And if you are a nonprofit, then it is a uncomfortable feeling for the culture to use deal. They're not in the sales business, and it's uncomfortable for them, and it's a culture disruption. And so from that perspective, I get quickly in the camp of we need to be able to match the culture with the tool, right? And so that's a way you got to weigh that because it's important, right? You're going to disenfranchise complete sections of the user base by not being flexible, and they have to make an adaptation to their culture, and it's very disruptive, and I don't like that. So from that perspective, I do like their ability to sort of make this fit their culture. That's important.
I feel there's levels to it. Like if you're changing a deal to opportunity, sorry, but like that's just, you can try a little bit hard enough to change your vocabulary from opportunity to deal. But like you're describing, changing deal to donation, that's size, like a big change, and it's worth going through the effort. So I guess where I stand is if it's just a little annoyance, get over it. If it's a big change in how you view the data, then go ahead and do it, as long as you're ready to invest in the right documentation and keeping everybody up to date with any changes you do.
Well, here's what's not going to happen. That
exactly. That's why I'm not excited about this.
And what unfortunately happens too frequently, I don't want to be negative, but happens too frequently, is there's not a lot of well thought out approach to how are we going to build out the CRM. We talk about this all the time. Get your mindset right. Have a strategy on how you approach how you're going to build out the CRM, and how are you going to handle requests from the team about changes to the CRM. This is huge, man. This is where shit gets messed up all the time. You want to appease your sales team, and so you make changes. Anything they say, you make a change, easy peasy. Then you got problems down the road because you didn't think through the other impact, right? We probably don't have time for this example, but it's phenomenal. I'm going to put it down on our list to come back to because it's a perfect example of I had a very valid request and was annoyed that it was not being handled. I got to the point where I'm talking about it anyway. We're not going to do it in the future.
Yeah.
I got to the point where I got agreement to fix it, right? And the way it was fixed was very, I don't know what the right word is, but it was not thought out well.
Spot fix.
It was spontaneous and not thorough. Spot fix is that's probably the right word. In asking the team to spot fix this so that he could appease this annoying salesperson that was, quite frankly, pissed that it got built the way it got built to begin with.
We're talking about you, right?
We are. In getting the team to fix this one issue for me so that I could just quit being annoyed, broke the entire automation chain for what happens when we close a deal. Broke everything. Broke the project side, broke the back end, it broke the reporting, it broke everything.
Sadly, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I was putting pressure because there was a mistake made in building it out. It's not that big, but it was a mistake. It should have been done the way it should have been done, but it wasn't. I wanted it fixed because it's annoyance for me and causes me double entry. I don't like that, right? But in fixing it, it wasn't thorough and caused all kinds of problems. My point is that if you do not discipline yourself, let's say you're a business owner or a leader and you're in charge, if you do not discipline yourself on how you approach when things are requested of you and you don't have a plan for that and thought through what's going to happen, your CRM is going to end up a mess anyway. But to your point, if that's how you're operating already and you can just start changing what things are called, oh my God, that's going to be a mess. That's going to be a nightmare down the road. Entire mess.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
So yeah, long story short,
anyway.
I'm not super excited about it. Same reflex I see with a lot of admins when they hear, oh, now your users can do this and can do that. The first question is, can I turn it off? Immediately. Oh, this new feature, I don't want them to use it. Turn off. So if I am responsible for a lot of these conversations, I'll definitely be more interested in blocking that feature versus trying to go through that.
Don't you think though? Like, let me see if this passes your test. What if you had like your best attempt at 95% of what really should be used? So, contact, patient, donor, sponsor, like just things that are in, if we had the list, this covers 95% of businesses. And then it's a drop down. You can choose what you want to pop up there. It doesn't, you know what I mean? It's not random. Do you feel like that would pass your test?
Again, that still signs you up for an eternity of custom documentation.
You're so
because
tough.
Nobody has the find and replace. Like if knowledge base had like, this knowledge base turned contacts into donors, fine, great. Now the entire knowledge base is still correct because you're seeing donor where it should be contact. But I'm interested in seeing how it deploys. It's still in private beta right now. I know they're intending to make it work, but I'm interested in seeing how the landscape shifts with this change. Like they mentioned, the impact is low on the tech side because all we're doing is changing labels. But I'm interested in seeing the actual impact and usability of the CRM.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how often it comes up, and we can say, yeah, we can do that, right? Theoretically.
As far as I'm concerned, I will not give it up willingly. If they ask, I will say yes, you can.
Well, I'm going to make the sale, dude. So, like, hey, you want to call it Corvette? Fine, no problem.
You want to call it turkeys?
go.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, that's no problem. We had a customer label something, not, it wasn't an object, but it was something that you could create your own, and he had it. Oh, it was a status. He called it hot.
Spicy.
What was it?
Yeah.
Spicy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it's the same feeling I had when they revealed like you can now put color coding on properties. I was like, oh no, the people are just gonna paint their entire CRMs, and now they're gonna change names. But I digress. Last time we were talking about the orders object and how HubSpot kind of locked it down and forced you to use an integration, and that they recently had given you the opportunity to do CSV imports. We had a very fruitful conversation, sparked a lot of really good back and forth on LinkedIn, and I got to chat in the background with a couple of people, so I'm glad we had that conversation. But they just released creating orders in the UI. It's in private beta. But again, I feel like there's a lot of philosophies that are shifting, and I'm not super excited about the initial, philosophy of, hey, instead of giving you a blank canvas and saying you can do literally whatever you want, we're going to guide you and railroad you into what we think is proper, is a proper process and a proper way to do things. That's how HubSpot as a marketing automation platform started. That's how their foray into CRM kind of was basically, like I always describe it as like it's the iPhone approach of we know better than you, so we're going to give you the tools that you need, instead of the Android approach where, oh, the world's your oyster. You can literally do anything you want, including messing up your phone. So, and I feel those philosophies are changing, and I have a suspicion that it's kind of related to their push into enterprise, because we know better than you kind of works in small and medium business, but the moment you break into enterprise is going to tell you, no, we know better than you, and if you cannot accommodate our process, we're not going to use you, we're going to use your competitor. And a lot of the recent frenetic product updates, and you feel like you can never keep up, right? So the past 2 years,
I don't feel like I can't keep up.
You know you can't
I
keep up.
cannot keep up.
Yeah, that's why me and people like me congregate on Monday to watch Kyle Jepsen and Max Cohen give the Monday morning briefing and go through like the entire week's worth of updates and talk through context. And honestly, I love that. So anyone listening that's interested in, keeping up to date, like on a weekly basis with the product updates, I really suggest you go to LinkedIn and follow the HubSpot tips and tricks page and watch the Monday morning briefing. But I'm not mentioning this for this specific thing. But HubSpot kind of noticed that people just cannot keep up, and a lot of people are busy doing the work instead of trying to fiddle with the CRM. Like, you have a business to run. My job is not to run a CRM. My job is to use a CRM to actually put value out in the world. So a lot of people feel like, okay, I don't need to keep up. HubSpot started something called a quarterly spotlight, where they do a big campaign that is, high production, very well polished, a lot of speakers, a nice microsite experience. It's like a nice event. And the first time that people like me who are up to date kind of saw Spotlight, we were kind of disappointed, because it felt like, oh, we know all of this. This was out like the past 3 months. Like, we know this exists. But then we understood quickly that this is not for us. This is for the people who are, busy doing the work. And once a quarter, they're like, okay, let me see what's new in the CRM. Maybe we can use some of these features. And it kind of gives me that question of, what's the best way to keep up? because there's also been another tool that they've produced where, depending on your level of access to the tool, like depending on which hubs you have, which level, the AI can produce a list of 5 new product updates every week and send you an email, say, hey, you might be interested in these product updates. So they're experimenting with a lot of different ways, and the community itself is kind of coming up with a lot of different ways. If you follow a lot of HubSpot partners, you notice that basically the bulk of their marketing is just product updates. So if you follow someone you trust, you most likely are going to see a product update in one of their posts. So it begs the question of what is the best way to stay updated? And I know the answer is it depends on who you are and what you do, but I'm interested in hearing your thoughts.
Man, I suck at it. It's so difficult. Let me tell you can we go back to the magic wand?
Yes, magic wand.
And maybe AI is actually the answer here. Maybe. I tend to zone it out because the chances are it's not applicable right this second for me, and so I tend to zone them out. What I wish is they were segmented. It's too barrage. It's like this one feature at a time LinkedIn post thing. I mean, I can't skip those fast enough. God bless everybody that's doing them. Keep doing it. Some people get a lot of value. I understand that. I'm just saying, for me, the one function, one feature update is it's just too much. I don't have time to sit there. If I read them all, I would be at 0 in sales. I can't.
Yeah. And if you've noticed my style in marketing for a HubSpot partner is to never even mention a product update unless it's a seismic shift, like when they ungated UI extensions from specifically sales enterprise to all enterprise. That kind of opened up a new world of possibility for a lot of people. And so I felt like that was worth sharing. But typically I never share product updates, because I don't feel like there's a big value for at least my audience in them.
And then
but yeah,
there may be a group that helps, and I'm not dismissing that, but I just it's too much noise for me, and I can't do it. And so I like the quarterly thing because it's a batch of the most impactful that makes sense, and that I can consume it that way. I think monthly would be better in that way. But the other thing is that I need to put the HubSpot tips and tricks thing in my calendar and just go, because it's so that alone is phenomenal, because it's fun, and it's like, it's a huge list, but it's gone through in a way for me that I can consume it. And so that's what
let me tell you this. When I was my own boss, I could attend it live and chat with Max and Kyle and chime in the conversation, all that. But once I stopped being my own boss, I quickly realized that I typically don't own my calendar. So I end up watching the replay of it, which is still very valuable, because Kyle, who's I forget his title, but he's basically like chief evangelist at HubSpot. He's basically pushing the brand all the time and making these videos, and he has the context from HubSpot. And Max Cohen was ex-HubSpot and now works in the partner ecosystem. He's very insightful and always gives the app developer perspective on like new changes, like new unlocks in the API and stuff like that. So like they don't just tell you about what's updated, but they also give you the context of why you should care and why something is interesting, or why something is going to break something, or all of that. I have some thoughts really and some recommendations. I think,
please teach me.
If you are a individual contributor at a company that uses HubSpot, I think even the Spotlight, you shouldn't check it, because I don't think you should be worried about what features in the tool that your admin is not giving you access to. I feel it's counterproductive. If you're the admin at a company that uses HubSpot, I think you should be opening up your portal and checking those product updates at least once a week yourself, reading through everything and seeing what works and what not, what doesn't work, what's accessible to you and what's not accessible to you. And it will be a nice benefit if you can at least watch that Monday morning briefing from Kyle and Max. There's a lot of other people that kind of do the same motion, but I feel having Kyle Jepsen there right from, the horse's mouth, he's at HubSpot, he can give you the best context in there. Now, if you work in the partner ecosystem, if you're in revenue teams, or if you're the implementation teams, at any point, if you are talking to potential prospects or current clients about what's new at HubSpot, I think you need to be up to date to the day. And the best way to do that is the same way you would do as an admin. However, if you're 4 or 5 people, it doesn't have to be all 4 or 5 people because that's super time consuming and not effective. You all work in HubSpot. There's no point in every single person having an internal channel in your messaging platform, Slack, Teams, God forbid, and having someone who's updated and give, little notifications of like, hey, this new update is worth checking. But again, if you're a solutions architect, you need to be updating yourself. If you're part of the team, having someone keeping everybody updated is a good idea. But also, if they win the lottery, make sure it's not just one person, that somebody else can pick it up.
So I think you're spot on, and I like it a lot. And just saying, can you imagine if you were on the team's product, if you're on the team's your team's product manager? Wouldn't it just suck to be in charge of the product that everybody hates?
I'm sure it's a revolving door of people who get laid off anytime Microsoft wants to buy another company. So
yeah, I
think they'll be fine.
Sometimes when I'm saying, yeah, they will. Sometimes when I say things out loud, I forget it's being recorded. I'm like, oh shit, I shouldn't have said that. Okay.
Hey, if you learn anything from me, I'm never punished for things I say on a recorded line. So you should just say everything.
You have no idea the kind of filters I have on a regular basis when we're talking and being recorded. But I got the opportunity to meet with a former, I won't say who it is, but because he's big in the whole software world. But he was on a pretty large Microsoft product team, and it turns out that usability is not a core component of the product goal. Usability is not included when building a product. It's not even a focus. It's not even on the list. It's like they don't it's not about that. It's just about functionality and power.
Yes.
That's it.
It never is for publicly traded companies. As long as it's avoiding churn and making money, the product managers are doing great. If a product
makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Starts increasing churn, which if you think about it, why do people churn? Because they feel the product is not usable, among other reasons. The other reason could be that the value is not there anymore. But the direct KPI is reducing churn. It's never increasing usability.
Don't you feel like that? I mean, I don't know.
It's not the right way, but apparently it's the way that makes most money.
They're top 5 richest companies in history. So I get that it's worked, but it doesn't make sense. And if I'm a product manager, there's no way I cannot include that just as a human.
Yeah.
How do you not include that? It makes no sense to me whatsoever. Let me tell you what else. Like, there's so much laziness in the software world. Like, I'm not a tech guy. You know that. I'm not a tech guy. But I've learned a lot in the last, couple years, and from being a client. But now that I'm like in it, and I'm not saying I've learned a lot from our team where the laziness is. That's not what I mean. I'm talking about, like, I see how software works with a different filter now as a user, and there is so much laziness that it's like, why is this an area where you would be lazy? You have complete control over someone's experience, and oftentimes it is just kind of like not even in the room. Like, what are you doing? Why are you building it that way?
Yeah. The most common places where tech cuts corners, which is weird to me, is documentation and scalability. Scalability, they put in a feature. It's an MVP. People like it, and then they move on to the next one. People say, "Oh, we want more of this." They're like, "All right, let's just copy it multiple times." I'm simplifying it, but like,
I know.
instead of
I know.
rethinking how it would work at a bigger scale, they're like, let's just 10x it and see what happens. And that's when stuff breaks, and then you have power users who are trying to figure out what's going on, and then the documentation is super light. It's those things that are always feel like a resource sink until you have someone having a problem and need them, and they're like, oh well, we'll just give them 3 months for free and they'll shut up.
It just drives me crazy. And I just want to be clear. I'm not talking about anybody. No, I'm not talking about engineers on my team. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about, when I click a button.
I'm talking about everybody, including myself.
Please pull up the number. Please code it so that the number pad comes up. If you know I need to put in a number.
Yep.
Code it so the number pad comes up.
Yep,
what is
exactly
the problem with that? Come on.
Exactly.
If you know I'm putting in an email address, why do I have to type at gmail.com? There's only 4 options.
Exactly.
Why?
Yeah. No, you're good. You're good. In fact, seeing you agitated like this, I think you should be proud of me.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't said AI once this episode.
I did.
See, I can give AI a break. So stay tuned for next episode where I rip into AI some more. But James, this has been fun. I know we have been intermittent in our upload schedule. Everybody listening, we're now on Spotify and we're on LinkedIn and YouTube. So make sure to check us out wherever you enjoy consuming podcasts. James, what do you want to leave our listeners with from this episode?
Wow, it's a great question. It always comes down to how you approach things. Every single topic we talked through today always comes down to how are you going to approach things. It's either in a proactive way or a reactive way. It's either thought through or it's not thought through. And there's consequences to both, some more positive and some not so positive if it's not handled right. So I'm never going to stop saying that. Like, maybe it's software. No, it's not software. It's human beings. Requires that.
Yeah. From my side, I think Nike is wrong. Don't just do it. You have to think long and hard about the move that you're trying to do and how it's going to affect you, how it's going to affect other people, how it's going to affect future you. Like, I always joke that I hate past Selim because present Selim is not enjoying what he's left with. Always think about longevity of everything you do. It might break stuff in the future. It might break stuff for other people. It might make life harder, like forcing you to do more work in the future. So anything you do as far as process, CRM, tech stack, think long and hard before you do it. Think about all the consequences, because you might be paying more in the future just to make your current life easier. And with that said, James, if someone wants to find you, where they can find you online.
I'm on LinkedIn at James Bond Advantage.
And you can find me at Selim Maalouf. I'll have the links here below. Thank you again for listening and staying with us, rambling about things that sometimes feel like they don't matter, but I think they do matter, because otherwise we wouldn't be, getting paid like we do. Thank you, everyone. Bye.